can, as guitar players, get paralyzed with thinking too much about the music theory aspect of things. And that's not what it's all about, really. It's all about playing songs. It's all about creating music. In my mind, basically, it's not really what you can do, it's what you can get away with. So a couple of things that I want to really put in front of you first. This is actually in my Kickstart guitar course as well. It's about simplifying chords to play the song, to blag the song, yeah, to get away with it, to cheat. And it's okay. As long as you serve the song, nothing else matters. You will get the chord police, you will get the scale police that say, oh no, you don't play chords, you've got to play the boat play. You don't. No, none of that, right? We're going to talk about 5R3 shapes, yeah, the 5R3 shapes. So these are the 3 shapes that we are plucking out of the cage system, yeah. So we've got 5 shapes, C, A, G, E, D, right? And we're going to look at the E shape, the A shape, and we're going to look at the D shape. I'm going to put these a little bit in the middle here so we can see there's some space around them. So these are going to be my major 5R3 shapes. This is going to be my E shape, guys. 5R3. If you look at this, actually, you can see we normally have an open string there if we were playing it as an E major chord, but this is a transposable, movable shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this over, and because I moved it over one string there like this, I get 5R3 again. This is an E shape, this is an A shape, and the last one we're going to have is a D shape, and you'll notice that the root note for that one starts out, look at that, E shape, A shape, D shape. It's nice how they ratchet over like this. So I'm going to give me the 5th, the root, and the 3rd there. These are the basic shapes we're going to use. The 3 master shapes, but we get the first sort of evolution or devolution is going to be the 5th, the root, and the flat 3rd. And that flat 3rd is what makes it into minor. So that's 5R3, major 3rd, 5R minor 3rd, flat 3. Okay, so this is why this becomes minor. So to do that, we do exactly the same shape, 5th, root, 3rd, but instead of putting a major 3rd there, I have to go back 1 fret. That becomes a flat 3rd, just there like this. Eyup, if you're sick of pausing my YouTube lessons and scribbling down chords and diagrams, well, I've got you. PDF Club gives you a library of over 350 exclusive downloadable and printable guitar handouts and PDFs with chord charts, diagrams and worksheets all ready to rock. Just grab what you need and get back to playing. It's the perfect partner for my YouTube video lessons. Check it out now at rickysguitar.com/get-pdf-club. Now back to the lesson. I'm going to call this the E minor shape. Look, the root note's still in the same place. It's not changed. Yeah, it's on those string sets. So here we go. This is going to be A minor shape. Root note goes there. So we've got the 5th, the root, and then we've got that 3rd that should be there, but we lower it 1, gives us the flat 3rd just there. That's nice and easy to see. And then we get the D minor shape. There's the open D string there. Let's put the 5th, the root on. 3rd should be here, but we need to go back 1 fret to make it minor, and that gives us that shape there. So these are the shapes that we all play. We've got the first shape, and this is what I want to show you guys, that this is a transposable idea, is this. Now, it's very easy to see that's an E major chord. And if you're a beginner, you know, this is one of those bunches of chords that you're going to learn from the get-go, yeah? One of your cowboy chords. But the thing is, if we're only playing these 3 strings, I'm going to get colours. Because it's easy to look at this diagram and think it means all of the strings, but it doesn't mean all of the strings. Look, that's the string set. We can see the string sets. And a string set is basically 3 or more strings. We have string pairs and we have string sets. So this is a string set. And when we think of triads, we think of them living on string sets like this. So the thing is, I know people get this mindset that that's the only place that that shape lives. You might even get to the point where you go, hang on, I can play it as a bar chord, but you just see the whole bar chord. You don't see that this shape is actually movable. And if we only play it on these 3 strings, it is exactly the same as playing the chord. You're just playing the chord. So that's a G. Now look at my fingering. I'm just using the same one there. So this is an E. This is F. This is F sharp. This is G. We can think of this as G sharp or A flat. There's A sharp or B flat. There's B. And I'm just carrying this shape on. And that's what gets me my chord. Okay, that's my triad. I'm just outlining it there. Now, when we play the E major shape like this, when I take my finger off, you don't recognise that the open string is important in that there. If I put that 5th, root, flat 3rd, it's hidden under there. Now it becomes more important when you see when I play it as a 3-fingered shape like this. Yeah, so that's an F minor. This is an F sharp minor. This is a G minor. So this becomes this movable shape. That's an A. That's an A sharp or a B flat minor. That's an A minor, I should say. That's a B flat minor. This is a B minor. Yeah, this is a C minor. So I'm keeping the same shape there. And that is the E shape. All from that. That's the master shape. That's the first deviation from the master shape. Yeah, the devolution, if you want to think of it in that way. So that's the first of the 5 R3 shapes. The next one we want is this one here, the A shape. We'll go like this. Okay? For simplicity, I'm just going to hold it like this. 5th through 3rd. Okay, so we've got that there. 5th through 3rd. Now, the easiest way to look at this, I think it's interesting to see this. If we look at that group there, that's the major. This is actually a little trick, guys. Who struggles with knowing how to find the relative minor to a major key? It's simpler to do it on guitar than it is to do it with music theory. It really is. There is the major chord. We're assuming that this is the tonic. The major key, chord 1. The chord that defines the start of the key. Yes? Right, now if we know that this is 5R3, what we're going to do is we're going to tap into that inversion thing that was going on, and we're going to drop it down 1 string set. And what happens is we get the flat 3rd, get the 5th, and we get the root in that shape there. Do you know that there's a hidden E minor in the open strings here? And this is why this harmonic thing works. Look. This is an E minor chord. There's the root, there's the 3rd, there's the 5th, okay? So we get the same thing here. So this is the root note for the relative minor. There's your major, there's your minor. Okay, that's your chord 1 for your relative minor, chord 1 for your relative major. They're just under each other, like that. And that's going to be the same no matter where you move. So say I did this in a key. This is the key of B flat. Yeah, there's the full chord. There's the full chord of B flat. Okay. If I hold that down there, I know that that's my root note. It's a G minor. That's also where I'm going to play my box 1 pattern. So if I get a B flat, it's the simplest way to see this. B flat, C major, 5th, root, 3rd. So don't forget where the root is there. It's the root note of my tonic chord, which is the chord 1 of the key of C major. There's the shape, just to show you this. But watch this. Move it down here. That tells me there's my root note for my chord 6, which is also going to be chord 1 of my relative minor. So that's my relative minor. Just there. Same shape. This is major, this is minor. It's ironed out because this minor comes from an E shape. It is an inversion. You get a key like D flat major, and you go, all right, just find box 1 of the relative minor and you know where you're at. Well, where the hell is that? You go like this. There's you find your chord. And like I did before, actually, with the E minor, the open D, G, and B strings, those are a G chord. This is the root, open G string. Yeah, the B is the 3rd, and the D is the 5th. Okay, 5th through 3rd, right? And I could do those harmonics there, yeah? So look, someone plays a G chord. I could play fancy little things on that, yeah? So this is the cool thing about this idea, but you know, we can do some harp harmonics on that. Simple enough to remember because it's just one shape, and all you have to do is you have to track on the major shape. That's the root note of the chord and the tonic of your key, and down here, that's the root note of your minor chord. And that's also, if you were in the minor key, that would be where you are starting with that one there. So just a little friendly tangent. We like a tangent or two on the channel. Now, we're back on track with this business here. Yeah. So that is my chord that I'm playing, okay? That's the chord that's in my song that I want. It's a C chord. I'm not just stuck here. Yeah, I'm not stuck here. I can think to myself, I'm using the shape as well to help me. Now, what I could do is I can take this. I know that's C, and I know that's going to be C minor. Okay? You can hear it. Listen. Happy. Sad. Okay? And this is movable. So that's A minor, B flat minor. Let's move it somewhere else. D minor, E minor, E flat minor. You shouldn't be scared because you're just moving up, using the string sets to help guide you, keep you on those there. So here, D shape. We all see it as this, but the thing to know is that it's a movable shape. And if we're just playing the 3 strings that it's on, the blue lines there, yeah, that's a D. Chords move like notes. D, E, F, G, A, B, C. I'm just moving the same shape up there. D. Let me change it into its minor version, this version here. We've got the D minor, we've got the E minor, F minor, G minor, A minor. Another little tangent. I can tie this into other things. This is where the Albert King box is. Why does this work? This is, I'm outlining the chord. There's the chord. It's chords on chords, or scales on chords, or arpeggios on chords, guys. This is what we're dealing with. Look. There. Lovely. Hang on. Major. So the shapes are going to show you where your boxes are as well. So those are the 3 shapes. But we want to be able to connect these. Because there's 3 shapes, if I want to play one chord, then I can play that chord in 3 different positions. Let's take this E shape. There's my 5R3. I want to be able to move that shape quickly into one of those other 5R3 shapes. So look. 5R3, 5R3, 5R3. This is an octave lower down, so listen to that. You can hear that there. Listen to the octave that this is in. The voice that's living in. This is the same. But you hear, this is slightly mellower because I'm not using that thin, pingy E string here. This is thin. Right, and then what I could do is, I've gone there, and I can connect back up to my E shape again. So I go E shape, D shape, A shape, E shape. And I can move between those. And the thing that we want to get good at is moving So I can move from one shape to the other. And this is going to help us to move into different zones. I think of them as zones. It'll make more sense when I show you the Oasis tune that we're going to do. 5R3, 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 5R3. Now look, take the A shape. If you wonder where you're meant to be going with this, you can think to yourself, C, A, G. We're not doing a G shape. We're going to do an E shape, so that's going to live here. So how do I connect that? 5R3, 5R3, 5R3. And then we get to 5R3 here as well. We can also do it starting on this D shape. This is just showing it in 3 different positions up the neck. The next shape, but that's where the A shape would live. So we go there, and we go, oh, so it's there. So just practice moving from one to the other, and then think to yourself, well, how can I move more gracefully on that? What we can do as well is we can look at this. That's on the G, B, and E string. This is on the D, G, and B string. So there's 2 strings in common. So I can, with this shape, slide up on that 3rd finger into it, or I can slide up on the 1st finger. This is how we use this intelligently to move up, you know, sticking to those shapes there. So that's a D, and then into an E shape, which puts the 5R3 for the E shape just here. That's taking care of those major sounds. But we can also do the same thing with the minors. So look, there's the E minor. Right? Before we had the major here, we switch it around. So we've got this now. And I think what's useful to do with this you start to see where these things live. There's the that's where that Albert King box is. Look, the D minor shape. There's the roof. There's the house. It's a bungalow. Okay, there's the D minor shape there on that E minor. The next one is this. It's the same. So you can see how we can translate that into a different area of the fretboard and get more bang for your buck when you're learning your licks. So that there. And then we're back on this shape here, 5R3. So there's lots of positions we can play that now. And it's about linking them and laddering them up. But it brings you into these different voices. And that's what we want to be able to do, because these shapes become our north stars for orbiting notes. So we've got this song here, guys. We've got to look through the song first. We don't go at it blindly. I think one of the first things you do when you're learning a song or you want to do a backing track is you need to know what key you're in. We can look here and we can see the chords. I've highlighted them in yellow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play these all in sort of one position. I'm going to try and get these chords as economical as possible. So you can see that in the intro, we've got a C chord and we've got an F chord. Now, I don't want a C shape. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my A shape, but I'm not going to use the full bar. I'm going to use the 5R3. There's the 5R3. Now, what I also want is an F for this intro, and the F is going to be here. So there's my C, there's my F. That's for our intro. Right, verse 1 goes C, G, A minor. I'm only going to tackle 2-3 chords at a time, so let's look at that. We've already figured out where C is. There's C. We can use this as well to help us to find the melody, although for the most part the melody is a pentatonic scale. So we've got the C major here. There's the 5R3, okay? The next chord we want is the A minor. So we've got this shape here. So, slip inside the eye of your mind. This is even a way to just play the chords with 3 fingers. No barring involved. No difficult shapes. If you just go like this. Okay? Now, watch how I do this one. This is interesting. And I'm going to use my D shape here to get my E7 chord. We could play an E7. We can play it like that, yeah, because what we do is we take the root, major 7, flat 7, like that. But we need to know the major shape first so we can simplify. If we want to blag the song, there we go, like that. And then we go to the F, to the G, there, like this. A better place to play. So I'll just go through those verse chords, and what we have is C, G, A minor, E, F, G, C, A minor, G. Now hopefully you can hear that I'm outlining the song here. If you're singing it as I'm playing it, you said that you'd never been all the things that you see slowly fade away. That takes care of everything there, and all I played was 4 simple shapes. A shape, we got an E shape, we got an E minor shape. Sounds a bit of an odd jump. I might change that a little bit. Then you start to know your way around it. Then you think to yourself, oh, okay, I can change this around a bit. Say we had this as a backing track and it wasn't necessarily a song, it would say it was a backing track. I think to myself, this is in C major, but what it does, it drops into, with that E7, where's that E7 coming from? It's borrowed from the harmonic minor, the A harmonic minor. That's where that chord comes from. You won't find that in the C major, because the 7th chord would be a G7. Because I'm in C major, I know that I'm going to have my scale here, so go. Okay? Okay? So I know where my scales will fit into this. So we can add those little notes in there. If we know the scales, we can add them. But we can use this idea of using these little triad shapes, these chord tone soloing things. Yeah, I'm going to use that. I'm going to add that note there. Yeah? We're going to a G, aren't we? So. You see? You can add that there. There's the G. Here comes the A minor. And then here comes the E7. Do you know what? It's easier for me to play it here. Using a C shape. Artistic license. I could play it here. There, that's where it can live there. And I've got an F next. I've got a G next. So you can see I've got all those ideas. We can even play the F there like that actually. And then it doesn't have to be all the way down there. So I could play that way, look. C, G, A minor, E, F, G. Yeah, that works. That's a bit simpler. I did want to actually get into the pre-chorus of this. You can see it goes F. So I start a revolution from my bed. Look at that. There's that F major, F minor. So I start a revolution from my bed, 'cause you said the brains I had went to my head. Step outside, the summertime's in bloom. Stand up beside the fireplace. Now, here's one of those tricky sucker chords. Yeah, E7 slash G sharp. Well, we can get rid of the G sharp. Anything after the slash, get rid of it. And we can get rid of the number. So we're just going to go back to the E for that. So, stand up beside the fireplace. Take that look from off your face. Yes? You know I ain't gonna burn my heart out. Yeah, so you can see, you've got to balance where the voicing of the chord is, because that's one voice, that's another voice. So if you want that F or that F, it's completely up to you. And then it goes to the chorus. So Sally can wait. She knows it's too late as she's walking on by. Her soul slides away. So don't look back in anger. I heard you say. That's everything. That's the whole song done in what I consider to be zone 1 there. Now, move it up here. Doing exactly the same thing here with that shape. So I start a revolution from my bed. Just there, like that. 'Cause you said the brains I had went to my head. Step outside, the summertime's in blue. Yes? Right, G. Go for a D shape there. Got an A shape there. Stand up beside the fireplace. Take that look from off your face. Yes, then we got an A minor. 'Cause you ain't ever gonna burn my heart out. So that's zone 2. So now we're going to do it up here. So here's the song again. Here's the verse. Slip inside the eye of your... There's the G. Here's the A minor. Okay. Here's the E7. Yeah, I could play it like an E7 by root, major 7, flat 7. And then we're going to go F. There's the F. I need the G. And then I go back to the C here. Yeah? It's madness to think to yourself, oh, hang on, that's a C. There's the other notes for the C. I'll put those on there like that. You can see the C. The C and the D in Caged intersect with each other. Hopefully you can see that. Look, here's the... So I start a revolution from my bed. Yeah. And that's another thing, guys. If somebody's down here playing these chords and somebody's there going, slip inside the eye of your mind. Someone's playing the basic chords. You can be up here doing... So you know where all this is going to fit in, but that on the top of that, it's going to sound majestic, especially if you've got a Strymon Blue Sky or some massive reverb effect. So that's really where we start to apply this. This is an opportunity to use a looping pedal. If you have a looper pedal, play one chord. Find it in all the shapes up the neck. Play an E chord, find it up the neck. Plot it out on a piece of paper. Paper and a pen, pencil.